right, it is 6:30. I would like to call the Budget Committee meeting to order, and we'll start first with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a quick note on attendance. Meg is out. Her child came home sick today, so she's disposed of right now. And then Craig Dion is out of town. And then we are still waiting for a school budget rep, which I believe they are going to select at their next meeting. They won't be here tonight, unless they surprise me all of a sudden. So first and foremost, just want to welcome our 3 new members, Jeff Robb, Dan Smith, and Dan Hill. Welcome. And I also want to throw a thank you out to Russ Simon and let you know that your hunt for Waldo will still go on. That's inside joke, but wanted to welcome you guys to the Budget Committee. We are working on the books. I know I looked at the line item and we're already overspent, so for the Budget Committee of our small little budget, but we're getting the books. We'll get you guys some books for the budget law, so we'll hopefully have that at the next meeting. But first and foremost, before we get any further, we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. So if there's any motions for nominations out there.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Dave Foltz as the chair of the Budget Committee.
I'll second.
Okay, Guy Burns second. Any discussion, any other nominations? Okay, for all those in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And then do I have a motion for nomination of the vice chair?
I'll make a motion to nominate Mickey Burns for vice chair.
I'll second that.
Got that, Patricia? Any discussion or any other nominations? Okay. All those in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. You want to switch chairs?
We'll do it next time.
Yeah. I know the
I
bad
do
knee.
jackets and everything,
Yeah,
too.
'cause I got
That's
my
a-
jacket, my
that's
knee,
trouble.
you know, I got settled. All right, so real quickly, old business. We have our February 4th. Thank you, Patricia, for your update on that. I forgot it was a snow day on the Monday. So, first, I guess, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the February 4th, 2015 minutes.
Second. Okay, any discussion, any revisions? I know we're gonna have some extensions here. I didn't have any. They all looked good, other than the time that was highlighted at the end. I don't remember what the end time actually was. I think you had down 6:20, and I don't believe we even started till 6:30.
Oh,
That was the only thing that I caught.
well, I should fix that.
I want to say it was 7:20. It wasn't a long one, but I believe it was 7:20 because we started at 6:30. I know I get on Central Time every now and then, but that's all I saw. Anybody else?
I didn't see anything.
All right.
Good.
For those of us that were present, say aye.
Aye.
That's 4 of us. 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4 exemptions. All right. Under new business, would you like to
Sure.
come on up, Mr. Fournier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the new members. And basically, when the Budget Committee meets, sometime before it, you should receive a report from me, just really the expense and revenue report of where we are. We're sort of early, somewhat in the month. We had an illness, so the individuals did not finish the report for the end of, sorry, she did finish for February. We don't have any updates on March yet. Sometimes I'll give one in the middle. So, where we are for February was that at the end of February, we had 67% of the total budget expended, which is right on target. I don't think there'd be any surprise to anybody, but the Public Works Department has seen a large number of expenses this year with the storms we had. Overtime, salt, winter equipment rental, and vehicle maintenance are all overexpended. However, at this point, the departments are not overexpended. So we have some line items that are overexpended, but not the actual departments themselves, which is good. At the current rate, we are estimating that we'll be about 0.5% under budget at the end of the fiscal year if we continue on the route we are, which is tight, very tight. As the budget committee members know, we've been reducing that difference between budget versus actuals, and this is where it comes into the rub of actually not, making sure we have it by the end of the year.
Tightest you brought.
Yeah. We are not in a freeze as of yet. However, all department heads know to be very cautious with their expenditures and to review them at this point in time. If we did a freeze, that would mean no training, no overtime, unless it's an emergency, those kind of items, and we're just not at that level yet. However, we are seeing a plus on the revenue side, and they continue to be higher than anticipated. Motor vehicle registrations, which is one of the, after property taxes, our #1 revenue source, we are seeing a 5% higher than we were last year at this time. Building permits are 72% higher than we were at this last year, at this point in time last year. And as of end of February, we've collected actually 77% of all of our revenues for the year. Building permits, we've had a number of subdivisions come in. The golf course went up on Bald Hill, plus building permits for the Weavers Row Plaza and other in the market in front. So those are helping that revenue as well. Cars, it's just the economy. Well, you always hear it's in a tough shape. Actually, people are buying cars, so we are seeing an uptick on vehicles at this point in time. And we're not seeing the huge number of registration, the type of vehicles that we saw in the early 2000s, but we are seeing people who may have waited 7 years to trade in their vehicle versus what used to be 3 to 5. Well, they're starting to now, which makes sense after the crash of '08 when everything was more difficult. Other than that, everything is going well financially in the town. Still looking, is a good time to plug again, even though none of you can do it. We're looking for trustees of the trust fund, which is the funds that whenever we place money into a capital reserve or the trust funds, they're segregated from the general fund and are overseen by the trustees of the trust fund. And we need one more individual to do that. So that is where we are financially. Any questions? Just on some training for the budget committee members, I will look to see if there's any financial classes that the New Hampshire Municipal Association may put out. Again, we will get you the books on municipal budgeting. Last year, we had the town attorney come in and did a lesson on the roles and duties of the Municipal Budget Committee. You're in a unique situation here. You're actually going to follow 2 sets of laws. The town is not a town like Exeter is, or Hampton, or Epping. We are closer to the city form of government when it comes to the town side. So we follow the council manager form in the charter when it comes to law. The school, as an independent school district, you follow the budget law that's in state law. So there's going to be a number of things that we're going to tell you, especially when it comes to dates, that you're going to have 2 sets of dates, one's for us and one's for the school district. For example, the procedure of adopting a budget on the town side is that the town administrator proposes, the council then reviews my budget, and then it's brought to the budget committee for their review to submit to the voters. Budget committee is basically a subcommittee of the legislative body, and that's what it originally was set up for, that the people of the legislative bodies, and so in this case with our budget, the town meeting, wanted to have a committee to review the budget for them and make a recommendation, yes or no. As you'll hear many times, Budget Committee only looks at the bottom line, and the council has the ultimate authority to transfer during the year. Other things to realize, we did amend the town charter this year. In the past, all of our capital reserve funds were included in the operating budget. The Department of Revenue Administration, you're going to hear this acronym quite often in the coming years, called DRA. That's the state agency that oversees all of our taxation, determined that we could no longer do that. So this year we did amend the charter so we could go back to doing that. That's why you went from, you had 12 different warrant articles, which seemed like just contributions to items. So next year, unless there is a contract, or which is not going to happen because we had the police contract voted on this year, there should only be one warrant article for the town, which is the approval of the operating budget. Talking to the town attorney, the creation of capital reserve funds rests with the legislative body. In that situation, the legislative body is the town council. The only thing that the town council is not the legislative body for is the raising of appropriations, so the budget. So it'll be a much, well, the budget will be the big thing. There'll be far fewer warrant articles in the coming year. Any questions of me? You can ask anything, operations, things you wanted to know.
So I saw the other day that there could be possible state emergency aid or something like that for the snow. Would we see some of that with
We will.
all the costs that we had?
We've submitted our application. What they do is they do a preliminary application when it first happens. It's determined whether or not we hit the threshold for each county. It's not each town in that situation. Since it was declared an emergency, now they come back and ask for the actual cost versus our estimated costs. And we should receive about 75% of that January 27th blizzard for any costs that we had associated with that. It used to be higher, but the state removed their share. They used to contribute 12.5% to make up that half of that last 25%, and the state eliminated that part of their budget. Just as a side note, that's a good thing to put on there as well, is to watch the deliberations right now in Concord on the state operating budget. Right now, we receive 0 in revenue sharing from the state, so you can't really cut any more from there. The only things we do receive are contributions to the room and mails tax. We receive a percentage of that, and the road tolls, which is commonly referred to as gas tax. We receive a number of that for the highway. So any changes in that is going to have an effect on what we have to raise or revenue sources that we may lose. In addition, a lot of any impacts in the health and human services are a large impact on us. If there's a cut in any kind of welfare service that the state would provide, it doesn't just go away. The municipalities then have to pick up that service. And by law, we have to provide the service. So just to give you, something to watch out for is if you hear me in the fall when I propose the budget and say we lost that revenue source or we received extra revenues because of this, this is the time of year that discussion's being had.
As well as state raptors.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. So with the salt budget and everything being over, obviously we're all driving on the roads now too. Do we see us having to do more repair from these storms?
Yep. Yeah, we don't know yet exactly what we're going to have. It's a lot of potholes. That's the next thing you see. You're already starting to see some. We're trying to get out there with cold patch as much as you can. However, we did have the benefit of having the warrant article to create the capital reserve fund for the road improvements. The first thing we're going to do is do a road survey of all the roads in town, and this will let us put money aside so we can start doing more larger construction projects and reconstruction projects. As the committee knows, that's our number one thing we're probably behind on at this time. The other large project that we are going to be undertaking shortly is that we have gone out and received proposals for the wastewater treatment facility upgrades and should be opening those shortly. And ground is estimated to be broken on that sometime in May. to start that construction project.
Go ahead.
You mentioned trust funds are now going to be part of the operating budget.
The contributions
The
are, not the
contributions.
actual trust funds, correct?
So will the expenditures be as well seen
No.
in there? No? Okay.
The reason
I'm
for.
just wondering how is it going to affect, not this,
Yep.
but year end?
No, it doesn't, because when it comes to the budget, all you're seeing for expenditures are the contributions to the capital reserve funds. When we do projects, that's up to the town council to determine and withdraw those funds, and they're for capital projects. For example, painting of the town hall, that was a capital project that we withdrew from. Purchasing of cruisers, and vehicles like that, those are capital items that we have the money put aside. Usually, at the beginning of the budget process, we provide you with the list of the levels and what's in the capital reserve funds. And just during the year, we have to go to the council to pass resolutions to withdraw those funds to do those items.
So as far as the contributions to those funds, now that they won't be warrant articles for each one, is there a cap? Has the town council decided on saying there's only 50,000 we're going to put into one or 25 into
No,
another?
it's what's budgeted.
Okay.
So it's basically going back to what they did the year before.
All right.
So, if it's budgeted 150,000, on July 1, or shortly after, we transfer those funds from the operating budget to the general fund to the trust funds.
Okay.
So, but on the flip side, the council then determines whether or not the actual recommendations to withdrawal is something we want to do.
Any other questions?
I have one final one.
Go right
and
ahead.
It's more of a procedural thing.
Sure.
I've been on the committee 2 years. It was the first time we ever had a petition warrant article in my 2 years. I don't know how long before that.
Yeah.
How did that play out? They came to us. It actually ended up passing.
Yep.
What was the next step? Did you
We
just-
wait until July 1, because we're on a fiscal year, so on July 1, when the year begins, the organization needs to come in and make a request, and we will write a check to the Lamprey Transportation Services, because the voters voted that in.
Yep.
It's a good example to explain to people, too. We don't have any choice, since the voters said, give it, we have to give it. On the flip side, if the voters said no, no means no. And we could even if we had that money in the operating budget, we could not provide them that money, because no means no. Just a procedural thing, you'll hear us say that sometimes, but it's a good question, especially when it comes to, people don't always understand that if an article or something gets voted down, but you may have the money sitting in the operating budget, well, we can't expend it, because the voters told us no this year.
It was just an interesting
Yeah.
process, and I
Nope,
didn't know
yeah.
how it ends.
Yeah, and we'll still have the ability to petition warrant articles. But again, on the town side, in our form of government, it's only financial warrant articles. They can't petition any non-financial warrant articles.
And that comes out of the budget. I mean, we have to.
Right, you
Yeah.
have to raise and appropriate.
Yep.
So. Anything else?
That was a good one. All right, on to the Budget Committee roles and responsibility. I think Steve did a good job of kind of getting into it. I think the best way I can put it for all of us is we're basically here for the legislature, which is the public, to help them kind of educate them to the budget and put the right kind of budget in front of them. As Steve said, it's the bottom line that we look at, but we can still, if we see areas where we can, we don't want to go after a certain department, if we feel they can still get some out of there, we can. But our goal is basically just put the best budget in front of the townspeople. And I think this year with some of the things that we all know are going to come to a head, I think we're going to have some pretty hefty discussions this year. Whether it's the wastewater, the school, anything, school contract. So I think there'll be some good meaty discussions that come later in the year. So I kind of wanted to give you guys a rough draft of the meeting schedule for the rest of the year. Because I know a couple of you guys were emailing me just trying to figure out, what are some dates that we'll kind of look at. So what I did is I just grabbed last year's dates, and I'm passing out a calendar to you guys. I highlighted in yellow typically the last Monday. We will not have a meeting in April since we just kind of got together now. And then we'll probably pull together, I'm looking at May 18th because I'm not going to have one on Memorial Day, obviously, because the town offices will not be open. So we'll look at that. What I'm going to try to do for that is I'm going to work with Christine Bluen from the school district and see if we can get an update from the school as well. Typically, she tries to give one around March or April. So I will try to work with her and see if that date works for her. And then June we can look at once we have after May. July, I gave us a breather because typically that's when these guys are wrapping up all their financial books, and I don't want to get any kind of unfinished reports, whereas in August we could probably get it better. So I just try to give you guys kind of an idea. Obviously, you can see a lot of yellow in November and December. Those are typically when we had the reviews of the town budget and review of the school budget, which come at different times, as Steve said. I believe the town budget's around the 15th and the school budget's somewhere around the 22nd or something like that. So those could change, but I at least wanted to kind of put them down there so, you know, as we're planning things for trips and stuff like that, we kind of have an idea of when they are. Because I know even with business, sometimes I have challenges trying to coordinate everything, so this will at least give you guys an idea. Any questions on that or any concerns or anything? Does that help?
No, it definitely helps a lot. So typically it's one Monday a month with the exception of the end of
The end
the.
of the year, when it gets crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, the reason why to keep doing it every month is, I think by having the monthly meetings where we kind of go through the town reports and the school reports, then it's not as crazy on us at the end of the year to try to figure out all the information. We kind of have an idea. I mean, I know the last 2 years, it's made it a lot easier at the end of the season for us to not, we had all the information and we knew what was going on rather than trying to figure it all out at the end. You know, but I know that, you know, summer vacations, things like that, I think we can, and we'll weigh June once we get through May and kind of see, because I know that falls right at the end of the school year as well, so. But hopefully this will put some place marks out there to help us a little bit, and I'll get Craig and I'll get this to Craig and Meg as well, and then whoever the school rep is as well. Any questions or anything else on that? Any other business,
I won't be
guys?
here June 22nd, I know that already.
Are you going to be up in Canada?
I am in Canada. That's my Canadian excursion.
That's your Canadian excursion every week.
But we can worry about that later.
Any other business you guys have for tonight? I know this is kind of a quick one, but this was just more to kind of regroup and get together and start going forward.
Can I ask one?
Absolutely.
Are there new books? I know we talked just a minute in the beginning, but did they change anything from 2000?
Not yet. And what they'll do is if you already have a book, we'll just give you a supplement.
Okay.
So if there's any new laws that they've learned to do that instead of printing out brand new ones and charging us $75
Which
a
they
book.
did.
whatever.
Of $75 a book,
Yeah.
right?
Which they did.
We saw that in the budget. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we overspent our budget
Yeah,
already.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
but we should be fine.
Okay.
And we'll get the books as soon as we can.
Okay.
Excellent.
Anything else? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Got that? For all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night.